Hi, I'm Joel Leonoff, President and CEO of Optimal Payments. I got started, and I guess Optimal got started back in about 1996. We spun out of a company called BC Emergis and created a company called Surefire Commerce back in the very, very early days of, I guess, e-commerce. And we looked at online gaming as a place where we thought there would be enough transactions to make a living. And we started processing for the industry. Back in those days, I guess it was just casino games and maybe a little bit of sports betting. But we became a very trusted party and part of the fraternity, I guess, of online gaming companies and helping them process payments. And that was very, very early days back in 96, 97. I've been in an executive position with the company since we started in say, 96, 97, back in the origins of Surefire Commerce and eventually morphing into Optimal Payments. It's a long kind of history, but I did take a break at some point. The company initially was called Surefire Commerce, and it got purchased by Optimal Payments, I'd say back in around 2003. So I stepped out of the company at that point and actually ended up as a COO of Party Gaming in Gibraltar for a year. That was in 2006. And then back in 2008, came back to North America after spending a year at Party and helped the management team buy back the business on a basic privatization, on a management buyback from the public company, because Optimal was a NASDAQ listed company. And at that point, I took on the role as president and CEO, and I've been there ever since. Optimal Payments is a combination of a couple different products. NetTeller is really the online gaming-oriented product. It's a wallet, kind of a PayPal-ish type wallet where you can deposit funds and then move those funds into various online gaming companies. I think our mandate really is to help gaming companies solicit payments from their customers. I think there are times where in different jurisdictions it's very hard to get funds out of consumers in different parts of the world. We process payments in almost 200 countries, and we have very localized payment methods that secure payments in places like Greece and Russia and Brazil, and we can go around the world. There's pretty much payment mechanisms everywhere. So I think we've done a great job in helping the community, the online gaming community, successfully convert customers into paying customers or making deposits. So that's our NetTeller product, and we've just recently embarked upon relaunching in the U.S., so I guess imminently we'll relaunch NetTeller in the U.S. markets as they come online on a state-by-state basis. Our other products are a product called NetBanks, which is what we consider to be straight-through processing. It's where we help merchants accept Visa, MasterCard on their websites around the world. And the third product is Net Plus, which is a prepaid MasterCard that's attached to the wallet balance. So if you wanted to go to an ATM machine and take funds out of your wallet account, you can do that. Or if you wanted to go to a restaurant and use your MasterCard, you can do that and use the funds that are in the wallet. So those are really the three topics or the three products ultimately that we offer to the market. And it ends up being probably about a 60% online gaming orientation and 40% just general e-commerce. We operate worldwide. We on the gaming space, we're offering our services to licensed regulated companies in Europe and North America. We process for the provincial lottery corporations in Canada. We're processing for groups like Caesars online in the United States. And I'd say NetTeller, for the most part, I'd say 90-odd% of the European gaming community merchants accept NetTeller as one of their payment methods. So I'd say for the most part, we're processing anywhere and everywhere. We have, business worldwide. Technology is, I think, leading edge. We've been at it for a long time, since 1996. So we've grown with with the community. We've always added value by bringing new functionality to the market. I'd say today, as opposed to just processing payments, we're doing a whole bunch of things that really service the industry. I'd say the U.S. gaming market is a good example. So yes, we'll process a Visa or MasterCard transaction. Yes, we'll also offer ACH, which is moving money directly out of bank accounts. We'll offer cash deposit methods, so someone can go to a corner convenience store, give the store operator some cash and get a voucher back that we accept. but we'll also integrate geolocation software. So we'll validate that the consumer is where he's supposed to be, given the ability to play in whatever jurisdiction he's in. We'll do all the know your customer type of protocol, so we'll validate identities and verify that people are who they say they are. We'll collect documentation, passport pictures, driver's license. So we're offering almost a one-stop shop for merchants. And over and above that, we have a prepaid card solution so that for the merchants that need to pay their players, that they have that ability as well. So all in all, I'd say that we're offering quite a whole, I call it a buffet of services, even to the point of adding loyalty and bringing in real, value-added components, so that a merchant who's looking to offer an online operation, an online system, can really come to us, and we satisfy a whole gamut of different requirements, which is, I think, quite different from our competitors who may just be processing a payment and not dealing with all the extraneous stuff. So we make life a lot simpler. It's not 5 or 6 integrations to 5 or 6 companies. It's just one integration to ourselves, and we handle all the details of all the other requirements. The most significant trend right now is we could talk about mobile and mobile enablement, and I think in the sports betting world, as an example, I think more and more live betting, where if you're watching a tennis match, you're betting on whether the next serve is going to be in or out, and so it's a lot more captivating and really, taking someone who wants to bet on a sport and really bringing them into a play-by-play basis. So the type of mobile interaction is important. So for us as a payment company, we need to be able to facilitate mobile top-ups of their wallet balances or mobile Visa deposits, et cetera. But I think the most compelling trend is that the U.S. market is reopening on a state-by-state basis. I think it's captivated the attention of the whole industry. It's starting slowly in Nevada and Delaware and New Jersey. I think everyone's anticipating the launch of maybe California, New York, Pennsylvania for a more significant ramp-up. But I think it's been a matter of everyone trying to position themselves to offer the right services in a market that has great potential. I think back pre-2006, when the U.S. was really not completely outlawed in the manner that it is now with new legislation, we were processing probably in the vicinity of $10 million a day into our wallets. We had FirePay, which was an older wallet that we had, and NetTeller, and that's a significant sum. I think today, with NetTeller in Europe, we do in the vicinity of $70-odd million of revenue a year, and that's based on deposits of about $1 million, $1.5 million a day. So obviously the U.S. market, the scope and the scale of that market is very significant potentially. We'll see how it ramps up over time, but that trend of positioning and bringing services is significant, and I think that that's one of the areas that companies like ourselves and various merchants are spending a lot of time focusing on. The problems that exist today is that some customers and some merchants are having problems converting their customers. So deposits with credit cards aren't as simple as they probably should be. I think the Visa transactions are being rejected at a very significant rate. That could be that some of the major banks in the U.S. don't want their cardholders using their credit cards to incur gambling debt. There's some complexities with the coding systems. So I think the trends over time will be, as it becomes more accepted as a mainstream industry, that hopefully the credit cards will ultimately be more, a better method of making deposits into sites. In the present, we'll offer a multitude of different types of payment methods, so that will help our clients, convert those customers that are trying to deposit funds into their sites. And I think the other, the reality of the world today is that more and more of the experience is going to be mobile enabled and smartphone enabled. So for both the merchants and for us as a processor, more and more functionality related to enabling mobile users to have the experience in a very simplified way on their mobile phones. I think the biggest challenge is the rejection rates. We've experienced it. I think the rejection rates that we used to see, and the rejection rate means someone tries their credit card and it fails. Back, early on in the late 90s and the early 2000s, the rejection rates were very low, and credit cards were the predominant way of processing payments. The the rejection rates were probably 15, 20%. And then 2001, 2002, in that vicinity, some of the major banks in the U.S. started rejecting those transactions and not letting their cardholders use their cards for gaming transactions. And the rejection rates went to 70, 80%, and created some significant problems in the industry. And at that point, we introduced, our wallet system. There was NetTeller and FirePay. And those were methods that ultimately offered alternative payment methods, pulling money straight out of bank accounts, the ACH network in the U.S. Those problems still exist today. And I think that, for the most part, we as a payment processor and merchants are going to have to find very creative ways to secure payments from their customers. They're spending a lot of funds on marketing to these customers. So it may cost $200-300 to get a customer to come to your site. If that customer can't convert and make a deposit, it's a very significant problem. I think groups like ourselves are really adamant about, here, if a credit card doesn't work, we'll try a direct debit transaction. If the direct debit transaction doesn't work, well, go to the corner store and give them a few $100s, they'll give you a voucher back. So we'll be continually trying to find ways so that all of our merchants have a 100% success rate with converting customers. I think that is that is a significant issue today as gaming starts to reemerge in the U.S. So it is right now, I guess, a serious problem. It's funny because I think the sector and the gaming community in general has come very, very long way. If I look back to where the industry was back in the early 2000s, there's responsible gaming, initiatives that are in place today. I think that the regulation and the regulatory movement, and I guess the introduction of legalized gaming in the U.S. has really been a great catalyst towards making sure that the right groups are offering services, that they're credible, and that the ethics of the companies that are providing services are outstanding. And I think for the most part, the industry has been cleaned up quite significantly. I think in Europe, I'd say the same is really transpired there as well, where the companies that are offering services are really, from a quality perspective, are better and better and more significant. So I think that for the most part, the industry has done a great job in creating, a balanced play field and opening up the opportunity for very credible, licensed and regulated companies to offer very professional services. The issues are, as I mentioned, the problems with payments. I think there's some intricacies. I think that geolocation services and trying to pinpoint where people are is a very critical part of U.S. gaming. If you want to play in New Jersey, you need to physically reside in New Jersey at that moment. And I think there are some intricacies with respect to the borders and where people actually physically are. I think that will get better and better. The authentication of a person and the validation of identity. I think that there's been better and better authentication of who people are. But for the most part, I think the biggest problem is the rejection rates that exist today. And I guess the perspective from a merchant's point of view of, I'm spending a lot of money trying to get these players to come to my site. I need to find a way to ensure that they can make a deposit. I think today, we talk with our merchants on a regular basis, and that's certainly an area where they want as much help as they can. I think we look at NetTeller as really, a magnificent solution for that because of the multitude of different payment types that we'll offer in the wallet, so that if the credit card doesn't work, you have a whole alternative set of choices for how to try and make a deposit and start playing right away. So we're hoping that NetTeller really is, the great facilitator of payments and is what it was back pre-2006. I think early on I ran a software company. That was back in, we'll call it mid-90s, I'd say. It was really the time that transpired. I guess the biggest accolades of what I've accomplished is I helped create a e-commerce powerhouse called BC Emergis. I was part of the executive team that built a multi-billion-dollar business from a standing start of about 300 or 400 million. And I think the reality of the accomplishments at Optimal are quite significant. We came together with Neovia and NetTeller and created the new Optimal Payments in 2011. But I took over the reins of Optimal Payments in 2008 on a private basis, and the company was just really starting over again. And I think from 2008 till today, till early 2014, we've gone taking a business from about $10 million in value, really is where it started, to over $1 billion in market capitalization and corporate value. So, I'm quite proud of that accomplishment. I think that both NetTeller and Optimal have become very significant players in the industry, very highly regarded, and having the success, being on the AIM list of the London Stock Exchange, and having the accolades of creating value for management, for our shareholders, has been quite a fulfilling experience. It's a great industry. It's dynamic. There's always a lot going on. I think you look around at the show today at ICE and see just how magnificent it is and how much opportunity there is. I would say that for someone thinking of getting into the industry, I would try and find the right company. I think that that's really where it starts. So depending on what type of role they want to play, if they want to get into payments, there's probably 5 or 6 really strong payment companies, and they got to find the right fit for the type of personality that they are and the type of feel of the company, the culture of the company. If they want to get into being a part of a software provider and making choices between major companies like BWin Party or 888 or Omaya or others, it's also a matter of really getting a sense of what the company's culture is like, where the fit is, and where the opportunities are. And I think that, that's how I would start out. I think that it's, probably a great opportunity for someone wanting to get into the industry is walking around the show like ICE. This is the predominant show. It really is the mecca of our industry where everybody comes together. So if I'm thinking of getting into the industry, I'm going to walk around the floor, I'm going to take notes, I'm going to get a chance to talk to the presidents and CEOs of each company, talk a little bit about their culture, where they're going, what they're doing, do a little bit of research, try and get a sense of where these companies are headed. But it's a spectacular industry, and I think it's like none other. And we're lucky to be in it. We've been at it for a long time, probably as long as, if not longer than any other company in our sector. And we hope to be in it for a very long time. So I'd probably tell someone looking for an opportunity to come to Optimal Payments, and we'll chat. I'm not a massive player myself. Even when I was at Party Poker, I was with my kids in southern Spain and Gibraltar for about a year, and we used to play poker on Friday nights, and that was probably the extent of my poker play, teaching my 7-year-old, my 9-year-old, and my 13-year-old at the time how to play poker. That was probably the extent of my gameplay. But for me, I'm probably the biggest fan of poker more than anything else. I think if you haven't played, and it's funny because I think back in the day before poker really got going, there was a major concern that online poker was going to ruin the brick and mortar industry. Oh, it's going to steal away our customers. And what I've learned over time, and I think what the industry has learned over time, is number one, the online player is not the person that's playing in the brick and mortar institution. So maybe there's a 15-20% spillover, but for the most part, I'd say that the online player is, it could be a college student in his dorm, doesn't want to go to a movie on a Friday night, so he'll play some low-stake games and enjoy himself. There's a lot of that. And I think that online poker, together with televised tournaments, have created a real opportunity for the population, the mass population, to go online, play a few hands, learn how to play. I think the idea of going to a physical casino and sitting in a poker room, never having played, is very intimidating. So I think it's opened up. Today you go to a casino in Vegas and the poker rooms are full. You can't say that. 10 years ago it was not the same. So look, if you haven't played poker, it's a wonderful game. It's a great pastime. I think when we were at Party, and the laws changed, we're trying to, okay, what's the next poker? Poker was creating a massive amount of profitability, and the company was flying. And the reality is there is no next poker. Poker is the next poker. So poker reemerging in the U.S. is the next opportunity. So for those who haven't played, it's a magnificent game, and it's a lot of fun, and you can play low stakes and enjoy yourself and learn a little bit. But that's my recommendation. I think that's really a wonderful experience. You know what? I just hate losing. So I can go and play a little bit of blackjack in Vegas. That's probably the extent of it. But I really just I enjoy it if I'm winning, and I don't if I'm losing. So for the most part, I probably just play for an hour or so with very low stakes and try and pass some time. But I'm not a big gambler. Maybe because I've seen the flip side. I've seen I'm smart enough, I guess, like the rest of the world, to walk into these multi-billion-dollar casinos and understand that the house wins quite a lot, right, to pay for all those extravagances. But I think it could be fun. And for that part, I enjoy. I'll play some poker from time to time at a casino. I'd say poker and blackjack, but just to enjoy myself and pass a few hours with friends and laugh a little bit. So I can probably have that same experience online, which I think is also very rewarding when I got to make that decision. Do I want to go to a movie? Do I want to hang out? Do I want to play a few hands of poker? So that's my experience. I guess my biggest winnings would be in the value that I've created, and I run about 4 or 5 public companies. So there's been a great appreciation in value over the years. So that would be my biggest winnings, have come out of value that I've created in the corporations that I've run, that were publicly listed. And I guess that's, you could call that gambling too, right? Some people do. I think it's a little bit, not quite gambling, but that's been a great sense of, I guess, accomplishment for me as an entrepreneur and a businessman.